So I've been haunted by Boris Karloff, William Henry Pratt, and I wanted to talk about him a little more. We're in Frankenstein Fever, and I thought this would be a wonderful time to do it. Also, I need a walk. Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I am continuing Frankenstein Fever, and I thought I'd go for a walk because I need to get out of here. I've been editing and just doing different boring tech stuff all day, and the light is kind of perfect. It's been a sweltering day, a perfect day to avoid the sun, but I need some sunlight, and it's, you know, the sun is in that kind of mellow light. They always say when the sun casts a long shadow, that is the healthiest type of exposure. So that would be in the morning as the sun's rising, or later when the sun is about to set, or, you know, before it's setting, but the light doesn't get as intense. So let's go for a walk and let's talk about William Henry Pratt. Real quick, who am I impersonating? Not Boris Karloff. Those of you who have been watching the previous Frankenstein videos, you know that. Good on you. I thought I would talk about William Henry Pratt. And he was of East Indian descent. And he grew up in England. He had a very respectable family, and they were brothers. They were all diplomats. So there was no question that you could really go somewhere in that particular clan, though William, young, had a stutter. He didn't intend to go the same way. He had other plans, and he looked to the stars, particularly not the ones in the sky, the ones on the screen, if there even was a screen. He was born, I think, in 1890 something, I think. So he definitely had an eye on the stage. He used to go and see opera, and he got it in his mind he was going to do that. Didn't get much support in, he didn't get much support with the family. So he winds up moving to Canada to strike it big, or to strike out on his own, I say. And this is around the time where he decides on the name Boris Karloff. I think in a previous video, I had faulty information saying that he was given the name because the studios didn't like William Pratt. But I have seen some other things, and I found even an interview with him where he even says that he came up with the name because he felt like William Pratt wasn't a good stage name. And he liked the exoticism of Boris Karloff. It is a great name. And I think with my own experiences in acting, there's a few things I relate to. I am of East Indian descent too. And I also felt that for me to find my way in acting, I needed to strike out away from everything I knew. And I needed to feel that kind of humility. And in so many ways, I was right. Matter of fact, I wouldn't have it any other way. I think there is something to that about leaving behind everything you know. And also, I think it's really interesting the types of odd jobs that he had. I mean, they were thankless jobs. He was shoveling coal, he was pouring concrete, any kind of, or ditch digging, all the backbreaking work you can think of. And that was in many ways my comfort zone. I was not really looking to, I guess, expand my mind in very impressive types of side jobs. I was doing manual labor stuff. I was doing bartending, and I think partly it was, I don't know, I'm probably reading into this a lot, but I think at that time there was a bit of a self-esteem thing with me. I mean, I was an artist and I was an actor and I was good at those things, and I didn't really believe necessarily in my ability for much else. And I'm sure that at that time, Mr. Karloff was, or young Boris, who also, like I said, was dealing with a stutter, was probably having different self-esteem issues. But man, what an amazing, dogged, passionate, dedicated individual he proved to be. I mean, he starts trying to get jobs, theater jobs, of course, wherever he can find it. But he always, you know, he just looks different. He's really tall, and he would wind up playing a lot of the outsiders, the villains. And he played like kind of prophetic roles like the devil in these little stage shows, college players. And he's doing this crazy, tough, thankless work for about 20 years. And then he finally gets Frankenstein. He's discovered by James Whale, who just, he sees those penetrating eyes and he thinks, well, this is perfect for this misunderstood, brooding, dark, scary, like character that Mary Shelley wrote. And and that's pretty much how he gets his start. And there was certainly some frustrations that came with the fame. But I think this is another interesting thing with Karloff's character. And I think I'm not just taken with him because he's the original Frankenstein and he really becomes the face of horror in a big way. I think Bela Lugosi was kind of a sex symbol type of horror with Dracula. But Boris Karloff is just horrifying type horror. And that is a very hard thing to shake. And it's very interesting how his life goes versus Bela Lugosi's. Bela Lugosi's is very tragic. He can't hold on to money. He can't really branch out in any way from Dracula. He basically gets trapped in the Universal Monsters universe, and there's really no way out of it. Karloff only does the 3 films of Frankenstein and then decides to leave and he goes elsewhere. He does lots of roles. He keeps working, and they tend to be dark, villainous roles for the most part, but he handles it with grace. He is absolutely generous to the genre, and he gets all these fans, and he is kind to people. He starts becoming a little bit of an activist towards making life better for everybody. He is one of the original founders of the SAG union, the Screen Actors Guild. And, you know, good for him, right? He goes on to have this illustrious career. He networks. Everyone loves him. He is known as this kind of gentle giant to people who see him, you know, off camera, who children run into his arms. And he is absolutely affectionate. If you ever hear him talk, I mean, it is a kind, gentle, it's almost like patrician English accent that he's got. It's just music to hear him. And it's so interesting because, I mean, you just think about how Hollywood used to treat its actors, and honestly, how Hollywood did treat its actors. I mean, that's part of what drove me away. You know, they force you to take a jab, and I mean, it was really like a return to something really terrible. But consider this, when Frankenstein comes out, he's not even credited because they wanted to drum up the horror. And the credits say, the monster dash ? Instead of his name. Can you imagine? Whew. So the poor guy, like, he is a sensation, the movie's a sensation, the character is, and nobody knows who the hell he is. wow. And of course, he winds up being able to keep working. I mean, he does The Mummy, hey, and he's able to make some, you know, amazing roles off of it, but they didn't even feature his name. It's just wild. But soon, everyone would know, you know? And, it is absolutely amazing to me walking those streets of Hollywood when I did, and I would just see just the magic of all these different old sites of Hollywood in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. I mean, so much happened there. And just to imagine what that must have been like, I mean, it can't have been good. You know, I mean, I'm sure it was really tough. I'll tell you, one of the toughest things on a film set is waiting. You're just waiting constantly. You have to do this scene and that scene. And, you know, some of the things I wish I knew as a young actor is that for the most part, the way a film set is run is so that to keep in mind that the actor might have to find themselves. You can make mistakes. That's the thing with film. You can make mistakes and have fun. And a lot of the craziness around you is to make sure everything else works. But the main thing is, what do you get on film as the actor? And I used to think, God, everyone is on the top of their game. I need to be at the top of my game. And so that's what I was always doing. But sometimes it was too rigid, and you gotta be loose, and you can't plan too much or you're gonna lose that special magic. So that's one of the things. It's easy to just kind of look at the way a film is made or run and go, why do they do this? Why do they have a person for this? Why? That's like the mistakes I would fall into as a young actor. And as I started to get more of those like successes or credits under my belt, I'd start to be like, oh, wait, my job is to find something like very human and let loose and get something that is within me, and that's going to be relatable. That's going to be the humanity. That's going to be what people are looking for, whether it's an audience or a director, scene partner, what have you. So I think that I'm just bringing that up because I think it's easy to freak out on set when you've got way too much time to go, oh my God, is it going to be okay? Is it going to be okay? You have to remember that, yeah, it's going to be intense, but I got to have fun and I've got time. And I think that those actors back then, they were always hanging out on set. The industry is still figuring itself out. It must have been pretty amazing. Now, you know, you're on a big budget set and it can be run like such a machine. People know what they're doing. But when you come into those little pratfalls, no pun intended, William Henry, I think that the system is in place to kind of help you along. They throw money at the problem when you're in the big budget ones, but when you're in the smaller stuff, like indie film, everyone's got to be kind of at the top of their game, improvising. You don't know what's going to happen. And I think this is a lot like what the films used to be like. And well, here I am with the favorite tree. Hello, Augustus. But yeah, it was, I always think it must have been just what a magical time to be working in Hollywood back then. You don't know what it's like at that point. This is also what I think of maybe the Sons of Liberty, you know, when you go into the early colonial moments in the American colonies of this country where they don't know what's going to happen. The biggest empire in the world is gunning for them, and they're trying to get some simple thing, and they're like little farmers and things. And you don't know what's going to happen, but you find this way to dig down, and despite the fact that no one has ever done this before, you're thinking, you know what, we're going to make a go at it. And this is what I think of the early eras of the film industry, whether it was the silent film era, which is somewhere between stage acting and what would become film acting as we know it. And then when you get, I guess, the golden age of film after that, and then you get the 50s, and then you get the kind of sex, drugs, and rock and roll film of the 70s. You know, I think all of these have these special places of experimentation. And I think that Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein really represent that absolute amazing era of when Hollywood was experimenting on one of the greatest genres, one of the most generous genres to audiences everywhere, which is the horror genre. And Boris Karloff, in many ways, I think, fathered what was possible with that. And also there's an interesting thing with Boris Karloff that I think is really fascinating to me about the horror genre and the metal genre, metal music, is it's like menacing, scary stuff. And then you meet the people and they're the sweetest people. I mean, how many times have you seen an interview or met, you know, a member of a metal band? And they're just so cool and sweet. Their voice is high. It has to be to sing like that, you know? But, you know, you go and you learn about Boris Karloff, and it's just like that. He's like this menacing metalhead in the 1930s, but he is so gentle and kind and sweet. Not to be fair, I mean, when you watch particularly Bride of Frankenstein, I think there are such moments of tenderness. And Karloff has about almost a decade of screen. Well, by then, I think by the time you get to Bride of Frankenstein, he's probably got 2 decades of screen experience. And he is just so tender. And, you know, it's not a far stretch to say that he is, you know, just a kind man. I mean, the movie is so obviously made to make the monster sympathetic, just like Mary Shelley's book. I think they get it closer to it in The Bride of Frankenstein, which again, watch The Bride of Frankenstein if you haven't. It is just one of the coolest, most dreamlike, most beautiful cinematographic, I don't think I've ever used this word in this way. Cinematic. I feel like cinematic tends to be, you know, the movie it's a great piece of cinema, but cinematographical, like, you know, when the cinematography of it is just awesome. That's usually what I say. Well, that was good for a laugh, wasn't it? That's why you were watching this. It is so beautiful out here. I'm going to change the subject. But anyway, the point of that is, with everything else about The Bride of Frankenstein, it's not hard to see how wonderful and kind Boris Karloff could be. The way that he was able to emote with that character. I mean, now we see things like Ron Perlman in Hellboy. I mean, he's fantastic in it, but Boris Karloff did it first. That you could just go and be this monster, and even though you're covered under mountains of makeup that takes hours to apply, thanks to the great Jack Pierce, you can still find a way to feel things. Use your hands, use the way your head turns, you know, the way your chin goes up, or the way it inclines to the side, and you just draw the audience in. I mean, that is all Boris Karloff. And of course, he came from the silent era, and There's just a wonderful overlapping of actors going from theater to screen, so they're able to use gesture work like no one before them or since. I mean, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is a great example too. But yeah, there's only one Boris Karloff, and what a legacy. It's one of those beautiful things too, that the man really fought to be accepted on the screen, and he took what he could get. He made do with it, which is kind of all you can do no matter what you're doing in life. You may think it's really frustrating what you're doing, but then as you look back, I mean, just watch it turn into something beautiful when you, in retrospect, when you see what you're up to. I think that's a really beautiful, you know, if you have faith in what you're doing, on some level, faith that it's going somewhere, it will go somewhere, and it'll be a beautiful thing. You should take inspiration from him. We all should. I do. Anyway, I hope you appreciated this video. I had fun. And of course, if you'd like to check out some of my art or more of my art, you can visit ghostinthegaslight.com. You can check out my Substack and read some of my original ghost stories. And there's more Frankenstein fun coming along the way. Part 2 of Mermaids and Monsters Unbound is being made right now. I can't wait to share it with you. And if you enjoyed this video, maybe you'll like this one right here, right behind me.